Welcome to Birds of Prey Sports Talk, where we weekly cover Ravens and Orioles news. We're your host TJ and Jared, and today we'll be recapping the London game in which we played the Titans, and we got a nice bounce back win. And we looked more at the offense looked more of what we expected, coming into this season. Lamar had a very efficient game passing. He was able to get it to OBJ, he was able to get it to Zay, he was able to get it to everybody for the most part, and he looked darn good doing it. And there was even points in the game where we were just saying, stop running the ball, pass the ball more because we were really carving them up on offense. And you know, this is kind of a little theme that we talked about before. It was nice to see Lamar's stats look a little bit more respectable, and instead of those games where it's like, 113 yards passing and no touchdowns and one pick or something like that. He had a very good passing game, and he had that one interception that was miscommunication, but I really liked what I saw, from the offense in terms of through the air, and obviously our running game, still, solid like how it's been all season. It seems like, Gus Edwards, I probably said this in the other five videos or whatever, but it always seems like he has 16 carries and like 42 yards, like clockwork. Like when we're old enough on FanDuel, we should bet that every time or something like that. He'll get 16 carries and 49 yards or something. But um, I'll go into the stats here for the game, offensive stats.
Oh,
Um, so Lamar was 21 of 30, very efficient, 223 yards, one passing touchdown, one pick. Um, for rushing, Lamar was also the leading rusher in terms of yards. He had 13 rushes for 62 yards, averaged 4.8 yards per carry. Gus Edwards had 16 rushes for 41 yards, averaged 2.6 yards per carry. And I remember we were talking or and we were trying to film this video the other day, you kind of touched on how this was probably Gus's worst game as a Raven, or one of his worst games as a Raven. And uh moving on, Justice Hill had 8 carries for 35 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. I would say about Justice, his jukes are incredible. I just watching him juke people out, it's kind of looks like Lamar back there. He's really, I feel like he's really starting to find his rhythm in the offense, not as a primary back, but obviously as a running back by committee type, and a great receiving back as well. Um, and going on to receiving, Mark Andrews was the leading receiver with 4 receptions in terms of yards. For 4 receptions, 69 yards, no touchdowns. Zay Flowers had 6 receptions for 50 yards and his first touchdown. So congratulations to Zay, first touchdown. Um, Nelson Aguilar had 2 receptions for 40 yards. Odell had 2 receptions for 34 yards. And I just wanted to highlight, let's just talk about Odell for a minute. He's, obviously, him and Jeffrey Simmons got into a little bit of scuffle. And, he was taken up for Zay, because Jeffrey Simmons was going after Zay's feet or his Achilles, is kind of like his Achilles area or his knee. And, there's no place for that in this game. And I
nope.
respect OBJ a lot. Us here, at Birds of Prey, we respect OBJ a lot, for taking up for Zay and fighting for him. And I'm just gonna stop, my offensive stats and just ask you for your opinion. What is your opinion, on that statement from OBJ and that whole situation with Jeffrey Simmons?
Yeah, me and you kind of touched on this a little bit, before we started filming. And and I agree with you. There really is no place for this in football. I have my opinion on Mike Vrabel, but I don't really want to get into that. Get us kicked off his platform. No, but no, it's very much of it's a dirty move by a dirty player.
Yeah.
And remember the what is it, Marshall Yanda a few years
Oh
ago,
yeah.
apparently wasn't he spit in his face or something like that, and nobody took that seriously, but now it's like I believe it. you know I mean,
Yeah.
like Jeffrey Simmons he's a good player. He is a good player. I mean, we're not saying he's a bum, but that doesn't hide the fact that he's a dirty player.
Right.
Probably the best player on the defensive line on that team, and you just don't do that. And I'm glad OBJ stuck up for Zay. He said that it's like a brotherly love between those two, if I'm not mistaken, earlier today when they were doing post practice interviews.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, like don't try to do that, because I mean, now that's a culture thing, in my
Right.
opinion. There, at least that's how I would see it. I don't, well, I don't want to say that directly just because I don't watch enough Titans games. That might just be a Jeffrey Simmons thing. And who knows, Mike Vrabel might have gotten in on, like, don't do that, because they didn't do that the rest of the game, so like, good on OBJ for baiting them and for the flag, and good on OBJ for sticking up for him today. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of wish that the whole fight situation was kind of kept in house, because we didn't know about it until Marlo talked about it. And Marlon likes to talk a lot, so I don't know. I just feel like if I was OBJ and that kind of got out, I don't know if I would have really wanted that to get out. Like, didn't seem like there's any video of it. There is photos of it or whatnot. Like, if that's the way it goes out into public, that's one thing. But if it's your own teammate, I kind of rub me the wrong way. I love Marlo. We love Marlo here, and I don't know how you feel about that, but I understand he has a podcast and everything, but I didn't like that he was the one that said that. That really, it had felt like one of those inside scoopers, just like exposing details that shouldn't really been said, in my opinion. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
You know, it's funny because I was gonna say if you ask Harbaugh, he would have said the same response that he always does every time there's a scenario like this.
What
But
happened? I didn't hear about this. And he
nothing
said
happened.
that too. He said that. I swear. I'm serious. He said that today. I'll pull it up. I'll pull the quote up while you continue on.
But yeah, I agree with you saying. You definitely want to keep things in house. You definitely want to keep the focus on winning football games and getting better as a team. And you don't want to put too much drama outside of football and as well as within football, within the team. So I do share your opinion there. I
Mm-hmm.
do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Marlo does, you know, he does spill a little bit of beans, but that's kind of how his personality is, how we, gotten to know him, especially like how he does those live streams after the game on the team playing.
Yeah.
That's
He
Marlo.
took
And
no
we
point
love him
off.
for it. Yeah, we love him for it. But yeah, he could have kept that one,
Yeah. That one in particular. Everything else is fine, but like, I don't know. That just felt like that one in particular maybe needed to be in house, up until like maybe the picture surfaced or whatever. That's
Yeah,
one thing. But having him doing that on the podcast, just I didn't really like that.
yeah. Um, so well, going back to my offensive stats, I don't know if you were still pulling up the quote, but
Yeah, I'm still trying to find it.
okay. But that was basically it. Bateman had two receptions for 15 yards. And Gus Edwards had a reception for 12 yards. That was basically it. So yeah, just offense just had a very efficient game. Everybody got the ball. Um, I would still like to see a little bit more out of Bateman, and I know that you would too. It seems like he's
Mhm.
kind of been struggling this season in terms of catching the ball and really getting himself, acquainted in the offense. He's been really quiet. So hopefully next week, against the Lions, or in the next couple of days against the Lions, he'll pick it up.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, I was
you
done.
know,
Yeah.
oh, I lost my train of thought. No, go ahead. If you had anything else to say, did you want
I
me
was
to
just
do?
gonna pass it. I was
Oh,
gonna
I
pass
was
it
just
to
say,
you.
okay. I hate when that happens. I was about to say something, but I lost my train of thought. Don't forget to do your shout out, by the way.
I'm gonna do it at the end of the video. Yeah.
All right. Well, to move on to the defensive stats, the defense played well today. The refs really helped out. A lot of the Titans' drives in this game. Especially the first points that they scored. I believe it was two field goals. Um, I didn't expect DeAndre Hopkins to be a crybaby like that. That you just kind of expect that more at OBJ. But not DeAndre Hopkins, but OBJ seems to be more of a mature player, in my opinion, than how he was a few years ago. But maybe DeAndre Hopkins works backwards. I don't know. So, but Yeah, just a lot of ticky tacky calls. I didn't agree with the ejection from Kyle Hamilton. You know, the flag is one thing. I think that the flag was deserved. You know, I was warranted. He had helmet to helmet contact. That's a 15-yard penalty. You know, but the ejection was, I think that was doing too much. That was doing
Yeah,
way too much. You know, and the refs were doing a lot today too. Like I was saying, you know, and then with the Michael Pierce sack, or it wasn't a sack, but it was an incomplete pass, I believe, or at least we stopped them before they got the first down. But I mean, what do you expect an almost 400-pound dude to do? You know, to maneuver his body, you know, unless, you know, he's Elastigirl or something like that. You know, like I don't know what they expected from him to do. You know, and it was clear he tried to avoid putting all his weight on him. You know, but
yeah,
you don't want that man's weight on you, you know. So, you know, he probably knows that too, you know. So he's like, let me get off here before I get a rough on the passer. And he got it anyway, you know. So I thought that was ridiculous. And then Derrick Henry breaks one for almost a touchdown. Marcus Williams going on one shoulder, you know, tackled him somehow just with that one side of his body, you know. If he was on the other sideline, we would have been screwed, you know.
yeah,
But he was luckily on the sideline where he was able to tackle him with that one side of his body. So, and that wound up being a field goal. You know, I don't remember any defensive injuries. I know Brent Urban got hurt. They said it was a neck injury or something like that, I think. Malik Harrison had a concussion. Marcus Williams had a hamstring injury. Um, and then obviously, you know, the other injuries from to like Owe, Ojabo, you know, but I think for Marcus just continuing to get banged up, you know, we really appreciate his effort, you know, so far this season trying to work himself back, but you know, he might be doing more harm than good to himself and the team as well, you know. So, you know, he made a few good plays, but you know, that one play where he batted the ball down was a pick if he had both of his arms, you
mm,
know. So just rest for now, you know. I mean, obviously there's not a long stretch of a break, you know, but just take a break right now. You know, maybe get put on IR for a little bit, rest up, heal up, and that's just my personal opinion. I guess we can get to that in a minute. But defensive stats in this game: Patrick Queen has 9 total tackles, 7 of them are solo. He has a sack, a tackle for loss, and a QB hit. Roquan has 9 tackles as well. 4 of them were solo, no sacks. I don't know why I said no sacks. But Matabike has 5 total tackles. 4 of them are solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and 4 quarterback hits. He's been feasting this year so far, huh?
oh, yeah. Mm,
He's been feasting the past 2 years, in my opinion. But Marlon Humphrey has 3 tackles, 2 of them are solo. So does Broderick Washington. Roger Washington has a tackle for loss. Malik Harrison and Geno Stone have 3 tackles. Both of them have solo tackle. Geno Stone has a pass deflection, and I believe he also has a pick in the game. I don't know why that stats aren't those aren't up here. Jadeveon Clowney has 2 tackles, 2 of them are solo, 2 sacks, he has 2 sacks and 2 tackles for losses, 4 quarterback hits. Deshaun Phillips has 2 total tackles. I'm sorry, Kyle Van Noy has a tackle. One of them was solo. He has a sack, a tackle for loss, a pass deflection, and a QB hit. And Marcus Williams, Rocky Sin, Arthur Millette, Stevens, and Duvernay and Bateman and Travis Jones all have also 1 tackle, and one of them were solo. Surprised, Kyle Hamilton was only at 1 total tackle, but I guess not a lot of action was going his way. You know, a lot of the guys like Queen and Smith and Matabike wouldn't let him get off the line. And then Queen and Smith wouldn't let him get past the second level. So, you know, kudos to those guys, you know. And then I guess I actually have a question for you before, you know, I guess we maybe wrap this up or continue on with this game. But uh between Matabike, Queen, and maybe even Stone, you know, Stone's been a very important piece of this defense this year, you know, and he just has continued to get better over his career with the Ravens so far. You know, I mean, obviously early in his career, he was getting passed from the practice squad, and you know,
oh,
he
yeah.
wasn't getting like major time because we had Earl Thomas. That was crazy. And then we had Deshaun Elliott and Chuck Clark, and Tony Jefferson out back there as well. And then we drafted Kyle Hamilton and signed Marcus Williams. And, you know, so there was a lot going against him, you know, safety wise, you know, but he is really, when he's had a chance to start, he really has made the most of his opportunities. And is tied for the league in picks. So, and that's impressive. That's impressive. He has 3 interceptions this year. I want to say it was one versus was Burrow DTR. I think I think it was DTR.
Yeah.
And then what's it called? Last versus the Tannehill, the Titans. So between those three, I guess really we're gonna talk about just the two, because I think maybe Stone probably be more affordable. But between Queen and Matabike, I mean, which one do you pay if you had to choose one? You'd obviously want to pay both, but the realistic scenario, you're probably gonna have to pay one. Who are you gonna pay?
Hmm. Me personally, I would pay Queen. I feel like the linebacker duo of Queen and Roquan Smith, I feel like they're really shining right now. And I feel like, a lot of teams don't have that luxury of having fast, physical sideline to sideline linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the bat, teams you think of that have that are like the 49ers or maybe the Eagles,
Right.
and Ravens are up there too. And these guys are young. I feel like, you just can't let that go easily.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, and plus Queen has come a long way. He kind of
Yeah.
started, his rookie year, it started off pretty good. Then he had a little sophomore slump. Now he's kind of building himself back up. He's trying to play good to get that contract. You know, he's going through a lot. And I feel like we should, continue where we are with him instead of having to restart over, having to put another guy to have chemistry or Roquan Smith, where
Mm-hmm.
them two already have it. I heard stories their lockers like right next to each other. They always hyping each other up, saying we're the best linebacker duo in the league. And I feel like you should keep that. I feel like we do a pretty decent job at. Not as we did in the past, but we do a pretty decent job of developing players like a Justin Madubuike. We'll grab a rookie, develop them to be pretty solid. And so I pay Queen. Honestly, keep that linebacker duo together. It's very
Honest,
important.
honestly, I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna pay Matabike. You know, and I mean, and neither you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong because I mean, I'd love to pay both of them. Because Queen really has. I agree. Queen has really come a long way, but I don't know. The trenches in football are very important. To me. And obviously you might not get another Queen. But thankfully we have like if we didn't have Roquan, I think we pay Queen. Because he'd be our only middle linebacker. But do you really want to pay you know, top money to 2 inside linebackers. In my opinion, I feel like we pay Matabike, because you know drafting and developing defensive linemen. We do that pretty well, but I really don't want to go through that process over again. Of because I mean maybe in their rookie year they get gashed a lot, or they get double teamed, or they're not that strong just because they're coming out of college. Matabike has grown a lot as well. To the point where now he's getting he's not just stuffing the run now, he's just getting sacks now too. So that is a guy who I feel like if we lose, he's gonna go to another team and rack up maybe 10 sacks in a season, and we're gonna be like, why we let him leave? Same thing with like I know Zadarius Smith. Where the hell did I get Zadarius Washington from? Who even is that? Is that even a real person?
I
I
got on
don't.
your
Our Darius Washington's a real guy. Was Darius Washington anyway? Zadarius Smith was one that comes to mind. He wasn't an interior line defensive back, but he wasn't he was a edge rusher, I believe. So that's just one that comes up. And even Judon, I think that a lot of their development was stunted due to Wink. I don't feel like Wink. I'm true to that. Wink didn't really use guys to their best ability. Like maybe Judon was a true pass rusher and they just used him in coverage a lot too. They should have left that to Bowser and let Judon be a main pass rusher. You could have had a guy on your hands getting 10, 15 sacks. And he's defensive player of the year candidate now, with the Patriots. So having Mike Macdonald, I think having Judon in Mike Macdonald's system would have really benefited him a lot. But obviously that ship has sailed, especially after the beef with Jamison Hensley. But I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. But
yeah.
no, I think we should keep Matabike because he's gonna now. I don't want to be. I don't want him to get paid and then all of a sudden he turns to be garbage. But I truly believe Matabike's development. He's really shown flashes and growth over the years, and he's gonna deserve money. And hopefully we find a way to pay both, so you don't have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. So Um, a topic that I wanted to bring up here, unless you don't have, do you have anything you want to bring up here?
It's funny. I just wanted to bring this up. It's funny that
Mhm.
you brought up Wink Martindale stunting the growth of some players on our defense because watching him be the DC of the Giants right now, he's probably stunting the whole team. I mean, they're allowing like 30 points
He
per
said
week.
Deontay Banks. I'm so mad. I love Zay, and I'm glad we got Zay. And I wish we had another first round pick. I really wanted Deontay Banks so bad.
I
He's
know,
so
I
good at
know.
Maryland. He's so
Yeah.
good at me. He's so good in the league too. He's the next top corner in the league, in my opinion. And I was mad that we didn't have a chance to get him. But some players are just good on their own. They don't need Wings help, So that was an easy plug and play for him. It wasn't someone they had to develop. If you had to develop somebody, I think Wink would stunt their growth just because he's too stubborn with his blitzing and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think it's. I'm glad we got rid of him. I'm just being honest here. He was probably a good coach in the sense of like he's probably a good guy. He didn't seem like a jerk or whatever, but we needed a guy like Mike McDonald.
Yeah.
Guy who's going to help develop players. And I mean, I just got sick of seeing those blitzes get beat by Mahomes, having him throw 4 touchdowns against us.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the point I wanted to bring up was, the offensive line has been like, I don't want to say they haven't been bad. They haven't been healthy, first of all, but they haven't really been fantastic, in my opinion. Like they don't, especially in the run game, there seems to be a lot of more backwards runs, like runs that aren't getting past the line of scrimmage or whatever than we ever have seen before. And then I think we knew that was a possibility leaving from the Greg Roman offense, But like I was watching a video earlier where I forgot who it was. They were pretty much saying that the guys aren't like as physical maybe as much as they were before, so we might have to move to a more athletic type of offensive line, going forward to help with pass protection and run blocking and stuff like that. How do you feel about that? First off, how do you feel about the offensive line play so far this year? And then on top of that, how do you feel about moving to maybe slimmer, more athletic guys in the front five?
I definitely feel like the offensive line has been shaky this year.
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes they've been looking soft at times. And especially, sometimes Lamar is like really pressured back there, like in the Colts game, and he's not really able to make a decision. Or in the Steelers game, you have guys getting through, knocking the ball out of his hand. I mean,
Yep.
that's kind of still on Lamar, for having the ball, handling the ball like that. But still, as your job as O lineman is to not let that happen. So,
Ronnie.
yeah, especially
I didn't know you heard that.
especially he's been kind of disappointing, but getting paid all that money. But I agree, we have been shaky. And to address your other question, kind of the same way how you brought up with Matabike, how like you don't want to restart, and
Mhm.
don't want to restart that process of drafting someone new and then developing them. I don't really want to do that for the O line. And I do like the idea of getting more athletic, getting more slimmer guys. But the thing is, we've drafted O linemen in the draft, you know, throughout the years. And, yes, Linderbaum has worked, but the other guys, you can't really say that too much. I
Right.
mean, maybe Ben Cleveland.
No,
He's
no, not
no,
at all. No,
okay.
no, no, not
Okay.
at all.
Yeah,
He's
we
only
probably have
good.
one or
He's
two
only
hits.
good at hunting and putting Confederate flags in his freaking Instagram. No, but no,
Okay,
continue.
okay. But you get what I'm saying. We have been really kind of miss on drafting, O linemen in the draft so far. These past couple years. And I just don't believe in our ability to, develop like that. Because if we're going to develop, we kind of need somebody to be good, like, right now within the first season. And, the way that, the development tree of our O linemen, besides Linderbaum, hasn't really been that way. And it seems
Right.
like even when we bring in old veterans, they're still getting, ran through like mall doors,
Yeah.
so I don't know who's our offensive lineman, coach or coordinator, but maybe he needs to be looked into. or maybe if we start drafting from Iowa, because they have the best
Yeah,
linemen.
you got to do that.
Yeah,
Just drafted from those known, like
yeah,
Linderbaum was from there,
yeah,
so
Michigan. Yeah, so I don't know. That kind of scares me, having to restart like that.
well, I don't mean to interrupt, but we might have to be forced to do that just for the sense that Zeitler's up there. Ronnie, I don't think they're going to resign Ronnie when his contract comes off, and then, John Simpson, hasn't really been the best. I don't know if you watch any all 22 footage, but there's like a lot of like issues with the way he, what's it called? His pass blocking, his run blocking. He hasn't really been like, who was our left guard? Was it Ben Powers last year?
yeah,
So, obviously, I mean, I don't know how Ben Powers is doing this year, but it'd been nice to have him on the team. But John Simpson, I mean, he couldn't even find a job on the Raiders. If you can't find a job on the Raiders, then you might be in trouble, especially with how the revolving door of players, not even just offensive linemen, just players they have in the Raiders ever since forever, so, but yeah, we might not want it, but we might be forced into it, and Falele, I mean, he just didn't show any growth from last year. I mean, he's been
soft.
terrible.
He's
He's
soft.
he is soft, and they say he looks like flat footed, and he's getting beat a lot from the first jump. And it's just, we don't want that as a right guard. I'm sorry, as a right tackle in this league. Because I mean, a lot of these linebackers are vicious. That you could like Bosa, Watt, Parsons, all these guys. They're gonna go after you, and they're gonna go after you fast. And if you're going to be flat footed and let guys blow by you, you have no place in this team. You have no place in the NFL, really. I mean, and but we might be forced into that scenario very soon because I mean, Zyler might retire next, after the end of the year for all we know. Ronnie might retire after his contract's up, so we may not even have a chance to resign him if we not personally wouldn't want to, but with Ronnie having the injury because TJ Watt has to fly everywhere, and hurt people's ankles. You know, it really sucks that Ronnie Stanley could have had like a Hall of Fame like career if that didn't happen. We gave him all that money for a reason. We don't just give people money just because we just can. We give money because I mean any team does that. So well, good teams do that. They smartly, construct their team with big contracts of really good players, so, and I feel like we're one of those franchises, and it's really unfortunate, that he has all those injuries, missed half of 2020 or most of 2020, and then missed all 2021 pretty much. He played one game, looked terrible, needed a surgery again, and then obviously didn't play all of last year, and then won't play all of this year either. So it's been a tough few years for Ronnie Stanley. Let me see. But before we end this video, I'm gonna let you do that. Let's talk about let's talk a little bit about Ravens Lions. Probably the biggest game of the year so far. Let's talk a little bit about that. How do you feel about this game?
Well, our run defense has been pretty suspect, this year. And that's unlike a Ravens defense. Ravens defense usually has the top run defense, in the league. And right now we're looking pretty suspect. I mean, Derrick Henry was the only one that kept the Titans in the game. I mean, even he didn't look like he was having his best game. I mean, it seemed like he really started to come alive in the second half. So,
Mhm.
you know, the Lions have two really good running backs. They have Jahmyr Gibbs and they have David Montgomery. And they like to pound the rock with David Montgomery. I mean, he's just a really physical, tough runner. He's kind of like Gus Edwards, but probably a little bit faster, a little bit slimmer. Um, and Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he's like an Alvin Kamara. He's the future. They don't use him that much. And hopefully, Sunday's game isn't his coming out game because he really is dangerous. And, obviously the receivers, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a top 15 receiver in this league. And they still have Jameson Williams, who hasn't got a chance to play, but he came from Alabama, was one of the top receivers. So, and Jared Goff, can't forget about him. He's an average QB, yes, but he's having a career year. So, they have a lot of weapons on the team on offense. And, there's a lot of things to think about. And this is a big test for the secondary. Marlowe been looking shaky. He has to step up in this game. And this is a game that is perfect for him. He's not going up against Tyreek Hill. He's not going up against Jake Jettis, Justin Jefferson. He's not going up against Jamar Chase. He's going up against Amon Ra, who's still ascending. He's there, but he's still ascending, and Jamo, Jameson Williams. He has a chance to reestablish himself in this game. And I hope that he does that, And I feel like that is what we're going to have to rely on. The run defense is pretty much bend but don't break every week with them. If they break 9 times out of 10, we lost the game, right? But I feel like this game is going to rely on the secondary. Can they stop, the young Lions wide receivers, and can the run defense just bend and not break? And I think it's going to come down to that, And if we can do that, this is going to be a close game. I see it being, a 3-point game. Hopefully we win. I'm not going to say we're going to win because this is going to be a tough game, but the run D needs to bend and not break.
Right. So what would you give your score prediction here? You had to, you said 3-point game. So what would you give it? Like something like 27-24, or what would you give it? 31-28?
I give it 34-31,
Okay.
I
Nice high
feel like
scoring game.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like the offense is gonna rise to the occasion. I feel like we need that game. We need this type of game out of Lamar. And it's funny that we're saying this versus the Lions, but they're the real deal this year. You're not used to saying, "Oh, we need to, bring our A game against the Lions." They're the real deal. So I feel like the offense is going to rise to the occasion, and I feel like we're going to, build off of what we did last week in London. You
Right.
know,
Just to counterpoint your run defense statement, we do have the 10th best run defense at allowing only 97.7 yards per game, and I think that, some of the big runs that I can think about, because I mean, we did a really good job against Henry outside of that one play. I think that a lot of our shaky run defense has really just been one drive or one play, in my opinion, and for our run defense to just be 10th in the league, without Away or Jabo setting the edges, and you have guys like Clowney and Van Noy setting the edges for this team, I think that's genuinely impressive. I think that it may have been worse if the Steelers let that one guy, you know, go the whole game instead of Najee Harris, and then I can't even remember. I mean, Joe Mixon,
yeah,
not a good running back, or at least not an elite running back, he may be good, but he's not elite, who we play week 4. We didn't play Jonathan Taylor, but I think that
Zach
was like
Moss.
that was one of the only games like our run defense looked like really bad, in my opinion. Like I think that it hasn't been the best like how it used to be. When we had like Campbell and Derek Wolf and what was the other guy's name? I forgot the other guy. There was like a Brandon Williams, the Monstars, I think they called him. But I don't think that it's been like too bad, but it will need to be addressed eventually because I don't think that it's not a strength for us anymore. It definitely isn't a strength, like in my opinion. Like there is definitely bend don't break. So while I am counterpointing, I do slightly agree in a way where it's like, is this a defense late in the game who's played a fast, physical, tough game? Are they gonna be successful in stopping the run versus better running backs later down the season? And I guess we're just gonna have to see. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully we get Away back. Hopefully we get Ojabo back. Hopefully we trade. We might make a video since the trade deadline, I believe, is 2 or 3 weeks away. If I'm not mistaken. So we'll try to make a video about our possible trade targets if you want that. But for my score prediction in the game, I pretty much everything you said that I don't everything I'm like your game preview about like I don't want to reiterate that. I think everything you said was spot on. But I might have us lose this game. I gotta be honest. While many people feel like the offense is starting to click in certain things, it's just there's too many issues that might hinder us late in the game. And it might be a late game turnover that loses us the game, and I mean, I'm going to have us lose like maybe like 28-24, where it's a game, we need a game winning drive and we don't get it, So that's my score prediction in this game, 28-24 Lions. I'm not a pessimist. I'm just trying to, hopefully this lights a fire in their, behinds, and they start figuring it out, because I mean, second half offense is really concerning to me.
Yeah.
It's an inexcusable, in my opinion, with all the weapons and the, that Todd Monken has at his disposal. So I predict this game to be a loss for the Ravens. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll just say I'm wrong, but I hope I'm wrong, but I'm predicting this as a loss.
Watch this be like from the 2021 Chargers game, the one that me and you both went to. Watch this game be like that. To complete
I mean,
opposite.
look, that's very possible. The one thing is that I don't like the way people describe this game as we need like like we need to play up to the Lions. Like, no, the Lions need to play up to us. We haven't been the embarrassing franchise, over the years. Like, we've done embarrassing stuff, but we've been in the playoffs more than they have been probably in the last 20 years. So, probably 30 years for all I know. So and we still got those 2 rings. How many the Lions have. So no, exactly. So even all those Calvin Johnsons and Barry Sanders and whatnot, we still got the 0 in the trophy case. So I've seen a lot of trash talk from Lions fans on Twitter. So, if we do wind up winning, stay humble, I guess. Anyway, you can close the video out now.
So, yeah, great win in London. Shout out to Yims, holding it down in London.
She's the prime minister there or
Why did
something?
you buy us tickets to this game? I'm just playing. But
why you say like she's the prime minister? She's the queen of London or something.
Yeah, I love you, Yims. But anyways, look forward to the Lions game next week. It's going to be, a big game early on in the season. It's going to tell a lot of what this Ravens team is about. And we look, to win that game. And we'll be happy to cover that game, and all the analysis. And like Jared said, we'll be coming out with a trade deadline video too, with players we'd like to have, added to this team. So, we're Birds of Prey, Jared and TJ. Make sure you subscribe to our socials. They should be above us, around our faces or whatever. And subscribe to our second channel, Casual Cinema. And we're Birds of Prey, and we're out.
Wow.